Hello everyone, I hope you all are well. We're going to look at some predictions today. I hope you don't mind me doing it this way. Maybe some mixed bag as well, because I've not had a chance to record predictions in the meantime. So we're going to look at that. I might throw in some weather because I did bring that up in the predictions, and I have them noted on my phone, on a notepad, just a small device so that I can read them clearly, and so I'll be shuffling between the both. I might include some mixed bag stuff as well. So as we head into November, when you see this, it might just be the 1st of November, or if you're catching it later, that's fine. The last read that I did on subscribers and for everyone on YouTube would have been the political insights. So the reason I do that is to give us political insights into possibly hidden strategies, and we can see if they come true, if they don't. But we understand a little bit of where a deeper layer, which might alleviate some fear, because we're understanding what they're trying to do, and I hope it does that. So some people might not click on it because they're not interested in politics in that way, but they're not understanding the reason I'm delivering it. Sometimes not knowing it all, like the weather I stopped doing, is better when we're going through certain times, and sometimes knowing the deeper layer between the predictions is a good insight, because it tells you about their strategy as opposed to the fear factor that a prediction can bring. So November is going to be sporadic. There's going to be mystical work. There's going to be revelations and reckoning. I think there's redemptions. I wrote a couple of words down. I will get to it. I do think, I don't know if any of you felt any differently during the last couple of days of October, where I said the AI, I keep calling it AI, I want to keep calling it AI Atlas, but it's 3i Atlas, may affect our sphere. So I don't know how you felt about that. Some of you might be getting ready for Halloween, ready for tomorrow. So let's see, depending where you are in the world. If you have, in November, if you have heart issues, if you've got any electronics that, you know, are starting to fuse or giving a bit of a buzzing, it's safe to say they're not safe. But especially in November, certain periods in November, I feel like we have to be extremely careful with electronics. The other thing in November that I feel is there is some weather, okay? Transport and systems. I keep seeing systems going down, and then that can cause the transport issues as well. So I do think that there's going to be an internet outage or a whole system that goes down, because I see both, all right? And this could even be one on a lower scale that you see, as well as the larger scale. So maybe at work, a lot of you will be happy with this one. The system might go down. You might have to just go home if you're working from work on site. So look after your heart, your nervous system, electronics. I do think that there's going to be an inflation increase within, if it's going to happen, probably the first part of November. And there's going to be a farming, agricultural type of debate arising again that we will see. I do think we still have weather like tornadoes in the US, possible flooding around Mexico, Arizona. The Gulf of Mexico, do avoid the coast there. You know, I've mentioned about the sea and the rumbles in the sea that are, you know, still out there. I think I still see sea issues. Shipping, oil, that kind of stuff. The northeast and northwest, I think there's going to be snow coming, but it's not going to be like northeast and all the states following it. I feel like it could be a bit blotchy. Alabama comes up for me in terms of weather. And I looked at southeast, and the northeast is coming up again. California, in terms of your earthquakes, I don't see anything serious in November, but do be careful around coastal, like I said. Alaska keeps coming up for me, and I came up last month. I don't know if they had a flood or something, but it's coming up just in case if something didn't happen. If something did happen, then Alaska's coming up. And if any of you are in Alaska, please let me know. There is going to be shady money deals put on the table, and I think we're going to see a banking incident occur. There is also going to be a period around, I want to say the 3rd week, so let's go 18 until the 22nd, more or less 21st. There's going to be something big that we didn't see happening occurring, and there's going to be like a brush off from political leaders, CEOs, large bankers, and they could be the actual stakeholders behind the banks, and they're going to brush it off like nothing happened. Like, you know, what you think you saw is no big deal, there's nothing there, just masking it, when in fact what happened actually did happen. And I see one leader, I was going to say political, but I see one leader especially covering up something big that happened that shouldn't have been happening. I'm going now to channel, I'm getting a channeling that there could be a photo or a video that comes out around Jeffrey, the whole case there. I've just, obviously, you know that I was saying Andrew comes into some money, and then, you know, he got his title stripped. But I still see a further stripping. Now, what I understand is that he can't be stripped of the title Prince, but I could be wrong. There's a further stripping, and I did say the lodge is going to go from him and he's going to be paid, and just, can you keep quiet? The problem with Andrew, as I tap into his energy right now, I still don't feel accountability, but I feel humiliation and sadness there. But I don't feel the right accountability quite hitting him for what he's done. And Fergie, I just feel she's like a follower basically, but I think her mental health is going to take a toll. I think Fergie, I'm not talking about only November here, I think Fergie will probably go into rehab or need some down quiet time where we might not see her, but she's having mental health care. Okay, this is not to feel sorry for them, because a lot of us have that mental health care. Like I said, transport, so I see a tech communication systems go down. I do see glitches as well, and transport issues, transport delays, and I think there's going to be a system where could cause an air collision. Okay, something that's going to affect that. Individually, I was getting that there could be a lot of relationships that end based on gossip. So if you are in that predicament, please just confirm your source of gossip, and if you have to, make sure that you are the source that is able to confirm or not confirm what you're thinking of doing, because there is that energy that I feel is happening. The tariffs on China, please do check the last video that I just mentioned, and you can check the prior. I do think that they are going to try to meet, okay? If they haven't, I don't know how this Chinese leader looks like, you know, so I've not seen him meet any leaders or anything. But I feel like if he's meeting Trump, Trump is more open and welcoming, and he is kind of very closed. This is business, you know? That's what I feel, which tells me that there is a meeting going on or going to happen, or arranging of a meeting. Strangely enough, I was getting something else, which is written in a prediction further down. JD Vance. JD Vance is going through some very tense marital issues. Now, I did see, before I wanted to watch this, I opened YouTube and I actually saw, God, please let this be recorded, hang on. Yeah, I actually saw that there was a clip where Erica Kirk is hugging JD Vance and she's got her hand in his hair. And so I actually clicked on it to see what the whole mayhem is. And the screenshots look a lot worse because it makes it look like it's prolonged. When actually it's not long at all. And you all know, I was going to write a whole thing on my posts about this. I kept quiet. I said I don't want to go into Charlie Kirk. And eventually I threw a couple of comments out, and then I also said about Charlie Kirk's wife wearing white. Because through that, what I was getting, from Spirit is that there is a message for us there, okay? Either she's delivering a message that's showing something's not fully as it seems, or Spirit has got her to wear white for us to wake up to something's not as it seems. And I was going to write a whole thing with other things involved, and a couple of times I deleted it, rescheduled, deleted it, and then in one video I said I'm not going to talk about Charlie Kirk, and then I kind of threw some stuff out there. I don't know, if you watch the videos regularly you might remember. So and I don't, I think they started having some tension in their marriage a little bit earlier than this, prior to this, and I think the tension in their marriage is going to be over the next year as well. I feel like if they pull through this down kind of period, like one is very tense and one's not happy. One is feeling not happy in the marriage at the moment, and one is very tense about it. Just my thoughts on that, Erica and JD Vance. I don't think he did anything wrong, but I do think that hand in his hair is a bit intimate. I don't think they were having an affair, but I do think she crossed the line, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter if it's a second or not. Firstly, whether I'm single or married, or even if I'm single and I'm meeting a married man, I may hug, but I don't even pull him in so much, even if he's a friend. I always respect there's boundaries with who you're dealing with. And if I'm married, it depends who you're married to. Some men might not like you embracing a massive hug with another man. So, you respect that. There is a railroad incident coming up. I've mentioned this, and there's going to be a rail track incident in the UK coming up as well. Individually, I'd say at certain points in time, be careful with your speeding. And I do see, when I think of that, I'm seeing that there could be an automobile tariff increase or change, okay? Some people might feel like they need to check their car a bit more during this time. The UK, like I said, transport, and I think December we're going to have some strikes, or they're going to even try and say there's going to be train issues, etc. already before there's even weather or anything. To be honest, in the UK, the transport is getting ridiculous. Where it used to be so impressive, the tubes, how they connect and everything. It's so outdated. The tubes get stuck. You get stuck underground. Half the time they're out of order. There's workers on strike when AI can replace, but obviously there's people that are dying for jobs and would be happy to have a job, and there's people that are in jobs that can't even speak English. And this is not only in the UK, it's in other foreign lands, and are just complaining about their job, right? So it's strange, those dynamics. But going back, a signal on a train which could be a train going to the EU. So, you know, like the Euro train, something there. As well as the train that I mentioned about off the rails, or something happens with a train. I think there's going to be a motorway closed. And I think there's going to be something that happens there on a major motorway. There is going to be a major outage coming up it's not necessarily just the UK, although I see in the UK during November or December possible electric outage, and some playing around there as well in terms of street lights and trying to gain a little bit. UK island storms, rain, sleet, but I would say wind is my concern at the moment. Europe, I think we're going to see flooding of the banks. So, you know, whereas the European countries that have got sea or oceans or lakes, the flooding at the banks of that is going to be an issue. Still earthquakes around the Philippines and that ring, that zone, but also this could lead and rumble into like Chile area, okay? And if it's not that, I think there could be like a volcanic kind of movement, and I'm not really sure if they have one or somewhere nearby has one, so I need to see that. There is going to be coming up a leader that's kind of pressed down, passed down, or passed, right? There's that kind of energy, and I need to meditate on it even more. Actually, I was going to do, and I don't know why it's coming through, there's a girl called Melody Buzzard who is missing or something. I don't really know the story. It seems to be, it was up on my feed, and I feel like I can channel the father, and I'd need to tap into it more, but that is interesting to me. I don't think the father's involved, but I feel like his energy is more profound for me to get answers than, for example, this is just coming through now because I was thinking, should I do a reading on this small girl? Half of you won't hear this part because you're probably looking for melody and you're not interested in predictions, but those of you, so that might be coming up. I see a leader, okay, who either just walks out, something's done, and it's kind of like you won't know why it's done at this specific time. It's like not expected. Even if people wanted this person out, this leader to step down, etc., it comes and people are like, wow, why now? Like, I didn't expect that. I'm fighting for it, but I didn't expect it. So it's kind of like it won't be known like why this leader just walks out or moves on or something. Asia, I think we need to look at, there's something to look forward for, because that was going to come forward. So something's going to look forward for, and with that I see Nepal and Bangladesh. Asia, there's risks of monsoon and flooding, and with that landslide, okay? I see some economic disruption for Asia as well. There's something about money, okay? South America, I don't know your method of travel, but there's like travel or train not working, or it gets blocked. The blockage could even be a weather aftermath, right? Where, you know, the train or the method of travel you're going, and suddenly, I don't know, there's a massive dent in the road from the weather that happened, or there's a tree or something. There's going to be something around borders coming up, okay? And railroad again. Australia, I've got two things. I was getting like hail, so I don't know if that would be in. So with Australia, where we see south here, which I think is Melbourne, and north, I'm not sure if they do it the opposite way. So I'm just going to say hail in one part, and the other part there is fire risk. And I do think that there's risk of rumbles as well coming from the sea. There's going to be hidden natural resources or agricultural confrontation, discussion that's going to come to light, like a crops dispute, like a border and lands dispute that I believe is coming up. The seas and predictions around the sea, pollution. We could see something around an animal that could be polluting, or the animal is absorbing the pollution. The weather is going to increase a bit, at certain times in November. We also still need to look at AI as a tool and use it as a tool as opposed to replacement. Because again, go back to my AI video, which I might re-release in a month or so to remind us, but it's really going viral in very unregulated ways, and there's no boundaries. So that also means governments can use it in that way. I'm still being brought back to a leadership that is going to be falling on stage. I saw a couple of days or a week ago, sorry if I can't give you days or a week, it could be even 10 days ago. I think there's something between the US duck and Venezuela. I was asked, will Venezuela have a backlash? And I don't think Venezuela is going to backlash on the US, but they might play with trade, economy, tariffs a little bit where they can. In the future, not necessarily November, I see new hand devices that can scan. They're quite AI tech, and they're early screening detection, which is good news, right? The digital IDs, again, a major concern. The problem with that is when you get governments tapping into your bank accounts, people want to take the cash out of the banks. The banks also then think they've not got enough cash to manipulate around. So they believe they're in a recession, and it causes this whole massive cycle of downfall. But I don't blame anyone for taking cash out the banks, because it's not the government's place to assess if, for example, you're on a benefit that you're entitled to, but you've got savings from your last job or something, for them to say you can't have this benefit. That is not right, okay? But what I'm trying to say is to show you how things can be. And the thing is, with the digital ID, it's a bit more scary because it's a bit more thoroughly tracking us. Although there has been this undercover kind of intel, I want to say, around these things. So it's not as new as some people think. It has been connecting to bank accounts via the government for a while, despite this whole thing about data protection, your personal data, and all that palaver that they pretend, but then they write you a letter and say, I don't know, they put some kind of thing. But I think it's not only going to be applicable to certain countries that have the concern right now. I think in a decade or something, it's going to be very global, and everything is going to be quite digital on this ID, or even just, you're going to walk through a scan and everything will come up, right? I don't know if I mentioned this in the last prediction or not, but I see a third party impeachment for Duck coming up, and he needs to be careful. Can anyone tell me what he's up to, what this could be? But that's what I see. Communication on our individual life level and globally, collectively, is going to be all over the place in November. You're going to hear one thing and then it's pulled back. And I said in a couple of months ago or 3 months ago, I said a rewriting of decisions, and you're definitely going to see this coming up. 1 minute it's this, then the next minute it's this, and also confrontation, you know. And 1 minute you think you're getting on, and then the next it's confrontation, and you're kind of like, do you speak my language? Because this feels like you was here and now you're here. I want to say it's very contention kind of way, right? And I'm just getting something about the Western Coast US from Canada. Could have some rumbles or something, and it's the plates shifting, the earth plates, and it's from the sea, it's off the seashore. So if you get any pre-warnings, not to scare you, do listen to those pre-warnings. I don't see loss of life, but I want to say that's just coming through. Economy is really sporadic as well in November. In December we might see a spike in like the main crypto, you know, like Bitcoin, and then it goes down again. In February it might pick up. Crypto needs to be long term. It's no longer like I can put it in a week and watch it every day and then pull it out and then put some more and then pull it. No, not quite. And I'm not sure if that gave a different meaning, but yeah. There's going to be in November, we might not quite see it in November, but believe me, it's happening underneath. There's shifts of wealth where the billionaires are becoming more rich, okay? There is shifts in wealth. The housing markets might open up, they might widen for a bit of a period. Again, travel plans, check your travel plans, the systems, there's something there. Japan, I think, needs to be careful of earthquake. And I think that female prime minister they have, she could be, you know, I want to pull cards on her. I think she could be a bit like going into a bit of a male prime minister. I think some people might say she's trying to act like Duck. Those that don't like Duck though, so and I've still not done the full message of Japan, even though one of the things came through, like the female leader and the way Japan's going to look. It did come through. So the Japanese female prime minister that's come up, I would say this end couple of days of October, do take quiet time to ground yourself if you feel so. Asia, thunderstorms. And I do see the Giuffre. Has anyone read Virginia Giuffre's book? And the more people of politics coming out around that. So it's not going away, but there's more political names coming up. So this MP or the president for Japan, the female, a couple of cards on her energy. Told to take this one as well. So yeah. Okay, so she can be quite in her head, and she can be quite brash and hasty, fast-making decision. And that could be because she's prone to a bit of anxiety and paranoia. And so her tactic could be seen as a bit of manipulating her, I was going to say energies, which is interesting. So I wonder what she's into behind the scene. But she actually feels quite tight. She actually feels quite restricted behind the scenes, but at the forefront, there's that powerful, she has all the resources. It's interesting because I do get, every time I want to say something with her, it's about energy, and energy manipulation, which is interesting. So I definitely say we need to look out. There's the Knight of Swords, the hastiness around her, 10 of Swords. So, you know, very much in her head, very interesting. So it kind of ties in with what I was saying. I'm just wondering whether to wrap this up and then go into another thing. I do think with the UK, there's going to be something coming out about the Met Police covering something up, and even covering something up about who they hire and from what kind of cult or kind of group that can actually get figuratively higher in the hierarchy by certain gestures. I don't know how this is going to come to light, but I think there's going to be signs, now that I've said this, that can show us that kind of thing. The boats about in immigration, I've got that noted, and I'm not really sure why I say that. There's going to be something around Sadiq Khan coming up. An element of this scandal is right, but there's a lot of dressing as well, and so it's not to dismiss it, but it's to be careful what it's dressed with, because it's kind of like taking this candle, and if you pass it over here, someone's going to put a ribbon around it, but if I pass it over here, someone's going to put like a cherry sticker on it, right? And if I pass it over here and then I pass it to here, so I keep the ribbon and the cherry, we've got 3 different versions, but the actual story stays the same. There's something around that. He's the MP, I think, of London, or is it MP? Whatever, of London. I think some of us might go into a bank and they might say, sorry, you're not able to pull out cash right now, the system is down. Or there might not be staff around, right? Or the ATMs are down, or that they're updating the application or stuff, just trying to stop some people pull out cash. I think I've said this before, that in certain countries, and I see it significant in certain European countries, and I don't know if I mentioned Spain before, I definitely get Spain. If you pull out cash, it's going to be more difficult, and I think the UK is as well as now. Like, they've lowered how much you can take out, and the more, when you want to pull out, they make it more difficult, make it more formal. Yeah, it's your money, and it's not like you're pulling out a huge amount where you can do something massive with it. But I think, like, if I think of Spain, I think it's been in place for the past 5-6 months. I do get that this next 7 years is really a purging and catharsis energy. Hence, we've got the tension, the wars, the difficulties. And the 2032 is where the golden age will be declared. November, obviously November 5th, we've got Guy Fawkes Day in the UK. We've got Thanksgiving towards the end. I would say that we need to... you know what I'm getting? I'm also getting as well as political leaders for Virginia Giuffre coming up. I think there's going to be a victim that comes up and has like a ST, and I want to say HIV. I think that claim is going to come up. Security issues around aircrafts, airports, safeties. Again, I think I mentioned about policies and procedures of this, but that's coming up. There is definitely this, something is off in the 3rd week of November. Like I said, 18th to 21st. I think we might see a bit of a downtime, maybe around the 12th to 16th. But the speed, revelation, reckoning, sporadic energy, mystic. And when I say mystic, it's because I feel like there's certain... I'm going to go into this when I go through energy themes and guidance for November, if I can get to it. But I feel like there's gurus that could be coming out that saying the ETs or the extraterrestrial beings that we're being prepared for are our future self. And I think this is going to cause a lot of confusion. and I don't believe in their messaging. Okay, so it's kind of like, this is your future self, so it's not alien, it's not a unknown creature, it's not an extraterrestrial, it's your future self, you meeting your future self. And I think that can cause a lot of mental health, psychosis, a lack of understanding. But I feel like more, and it could be psychics that say this, I think there's going to be some true psychics that don't agree with that, but everyone must sit where it sits best for them. And we take responsibility right now for what we can do in our lives. So for example, if the government is still shut down in the US, whether it's the US, wherever you are, what responsibility can you take for your own lives? Remember, I mentioned that we're going to be pushed, if you're not going in the direction of being with your community and with people, whether it's online or your community, etc., looking out for one another, looking out for yourself, not in a selfish way, right? Then there will be elements where you need to wake up to that. And one thing is this White House or system shutting down. So it's pushing you to see how you can build together at a little cost in terms of cost of money, without reliance on governments and the systems. But the major part of this is showing you that systems are going, they're getting brushed away, they're going. I think I've mentioned an impeachment coming up for a leader in this as well earlier. So I'm probably going to leave this here, go through what I've got remaining. Some of them are future. I'm going to do a 2026 theme, just a small note, and I'm also going to try to get to your monthly sign ones, obviously, if you want it. Where there's engagement, it helps me understand where to put my energy. The last note is, I hope you all are blessed, and take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless and bye for now.